Good morning from the garden. It's Saturday and in today's video I want to share with you the results of my mustard trial. If you watched my video about my 18 goals for 2018 at the beginning of the year, then you probably know that one of my goals was to do a trial of mustard greens. I did the trial in this bed, so that's what we're going to look at today. Mustard greens are one of my favorite things to grow in the garden, and the main reason for that is that they're super easy and super fast growing. They are best suited to cooler temperatures, so in our climate we can either grow them in spring or in fall, and many of them are quite hardy, so they can also be grown for winter harvesting under cover. You can either sow mustard greens quite close together and harvest them as cut and come again crop, or you can thin them further apart, up to 30 centimeters, 12 inches, to get larger individual plants that you can then harvest by picking the outer leaves repeatedly. In this case, I grew them as cut and come again, and I sowed them on the 8th of April by drawing wide drills with this little hoe and then sprinkling the seeds in the drill. And I make the drills about the same width apart. I think this is about like 10 centimeters, 4 inches. And as you can see, the plants, when they grow, they'll close the gap and cover the bed quite nicely, so there are not many weeds growing. There are many different varieties available with varying leaf shape and hues, and you can really play with that by alternating rows of different varieties to make a nice ornamental edible bed. Here I try to alternate green ones and purple varieties, and I think the overall effect is really pretty. I have a total of 12 varieties in this bed, so I want to give you a little information on each and every one. I looked at 3 characteristics. One, the appearance, so the color and the shape of the leaves. 2, taste, of course. And in this case, it means mainly the different degrees of hotness or spiciness of the leaves. And 3, how prone the different varieties are to early bolting. The first variety I have here is called Green Waves and has quite broad leaves that are curled around the edges. It's not bolting yet, so it seems to be quite resistant to bolting, and the taste is medium hot, somewhere in the middle of the scale. The next one is called Crimson Red. The color is beautiful. I really love this one, and it's especially nice next to the Green Waves, the contrasting, because the shape of the leaves is quite similar and the color is really contrasting. As you can see, it is just beginning to bolt, so a little less resistant to bolting than Green Waves, and about the same hotness of taste, so I'd say medium hot. Next to those two, I have 2 varieties of Mizuna, which is quite well-known Asian green, and also quite hardy. So I want to grow this one in the greenhouse, definitely. I have a green variety and a purple-hued one next to it. Interestingly, the green one is really bolting, while the purple one is not. The difference, there's no difference in taste. I'd say it's mild to medium hot, and the hue in the purple one is not as pronounced as in the Crimson Red, but it's still nice variation. Next 2 are called Golden Frills and Scarlet Frills. They have really nice leaf shape, serrated and frilly. Again, it's really nice to grow these 2 contrasting colors next to each other. No sign of bolting, which is good. And when it comes to taste, they're on the top of the scale, so these are in the hottest category among the varieties that I have grown. Next we have Golden Streaks and Ruby Streaks. They're even more serrated, the leaves, than the previous ones. The taste is just as hot or spicy as in the frills, in the 2 frills varieties, but as you can see, the Ruby Streaks is already bolting Interestingly, golden streaks is not. Next one is a variety with really pretty shaped leaves. It's called Pizzo, and it's as hot as the previous 4, I'd say. But as you can see, no sign of bolting yet. And it is also quite hardy. I have grown it outside until deep in the fall 1 year. The last 3 varieties I have here are called respectively Pink Lettucy, Bekana and Purple Pop. And they are the mildest tasting mustard greens that I've grown. So if spiciness, hotness is not your thing, then I would go for these. Pink Lettucy has a slightly purple hue. Hope you can see it. Not so much in the leaves, but a little in the stems. Then Bekana is really mild, nice tasting leaves, almost like lettuce. And it's very light green, almost yellow. And then Purple Pop is purple both in the leaves and in the stems. And as you can see, none of these are bolting yet, so I would really recommend those if you don't want spice leaves. The greens are so fast growing and so productive, and if you harvest them as cut and come again greens, then you can harvest up to 3 times from the same plants. So a bed like this will give you an enormous harvest. At this point for us it's more than we can eat, so I'll be harvesting some and taking them to our next street potluck. One more thing I should have mentioned at the beginning maybe, you have probably noticed the bed was covered. That was not because to protect them from cold, because these are really quite hardy, but we had a problem with pigeons eating the plants and the cover really helped with that. So that's a tip if you have pigeons in your garden. It was really interesting for me to grow all these varieties next to each other so that I could compare their characteristics and for future reference, for future growing. I hope it was helpful to you too. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you next time. Happy gardening!